Welcome to Hard Script.
Support the channel by liking, commenting, and subscribing. I promise even more interesting stories. We're better without intimacy, she claimed, eyes dry, voice steady. I didn't argue. I just listened. And in that moment, I decided to let her live exactly what she asked for, without me. You ever have a moment so clear, so sharp, it cuts clean through everything you thought was real? Mine was on a Thursday night. Nothing dramatic. No shouting match. No tears. Just a sentence. We were sitting on opposite ends of the couch. She had her legs curled under her, scrolling through her phone, not even glancing at me. I was watching the steam rise from my coffee, thinking maybe I should say something. Maybe ask what was going on. Again. But then she broke the silence. We're better without intimacy. Just like that. Like she was reading a headline. And when I looked up, waiting for a punchline or even a trace of emotion, she added flatly, "It just complicates things." That was the moment. Not because of what she said, but how easily she said it. Like intimacy was a subscription she could cancel. Like I was some old app she didn't use anymore. I didn't respond. I didn't move. I sat there and felt something cold settle inside me. She thought she was just being honest. But what she really did was open a door she didn't know couldn't be closed again. So I smiled. Not out of amusement. Not out of rage. It was the smile of a man who had just stopped caring. And that smile, quiet, unbothered, was the start of the end. That night, I didn't try to touch her. I didn't roll over in bed and pretend things were fine. I stared at the ceiling in silence, thinking back to the man I used to be, the one who used to fight for her attention, who brought her coffee in bed, who thought cold spells were just phases. But something shifted. This wasn't a phase. It was a pattern. She had mistaken consistency for weakness, kindness for dependence, and silence for surrender. So I made a decision. Not a threat. Not a promise. A plan. If she wanted life without closeness, then she'd get the full version. Because starting that night, I began the slow, surgical process of erasing myself. Not from the world. From her world. No rage. No drama. Just distance. And it would be the loudest silence she'd ever heard. The next morning, I didn't kiss her goodbye. I poured my coffee, left my mug in the sink instead of rinsing it like I always did, grabbed my keys, and walked out. No words. No glance. Just absence. That's how it began. At first, she didn't notice. Or maybe she noticed and didn't care. She hummed while getting dressed, tapping through her messages. Probably texting someone who made her feel more alive. I didn't ask. I stopped checking in during the day. No, how's your morning? Texts. No memes I thought would make her smile. At lunch, I sat in my car alone, letting the silence stretch. It felt clean. She still sent me a list of groceries. Still asked me to fix the router. Still reminded me to RSVP to her cousin's wedding. As if everything was the same. As if I hadn't already left, mentally, emotionally, almost spiritually. I answered politely. Efficiently. Like a coworker. She didn't push. Not yet. By day 4, I noticed something shift. She called me babe again. It sounded like an old password she forgot how to use. She tried to joke about something we'd once found funny. I gave her a small nod, a practiced smirk, and nothing else. That night, she slid into bed earlier than usual. I stayed in the living room, pretending to scroll my phone while listening to the silence of her waiting. I didn't follow. She wanted a version of me that could be summoned at her convenience. But I wasn't on call anymore. Over the next few days, I started rebuilding something myself. I hit the gym before sunrise. Signed up for weekend courses I'd once shelved for her convenience. I reopened an old savings account. Rerouted part of my paycheck. Not because I was hiding. Because I was preparing. She had built a world where my attention was optional. Where I was just an appliance, functional, forgettable. And now she was starting to feel what it meant when that appliance stopped humming. One night, she leaned on the kitchen counter, watching me move around without looking at her. "You're really quiet lately," she said. I didn't look up. Just replied calmly. Just thinking. She waited. For more. For warmth. For something. I gave her nothing. Because when someone tells you they don't want intimacy, they don't get to decide when you stop offering it. She asked for distance. I was just making it real. By the second week, she started to sense it. Not in the way someone notices a storm, but in the way they notice stillness that lasts too long. She came home on a Friday, expecting the usual routine. Dinner ordered, a show queued up, the comfort of my presence waiting for her. Instead, she walked in to find me halfway through a film one she hated. I didn't pause it. Didn't greet her. Didn't even shift on the couch to make space. She hovered for a second, unsure, then asked, "You started without me?" I nodded, eyes on the screen. "Didn't think you'd be interested." She didn't reply, just sat at the far end, arms crossed, silence thick between us. That was the first flicker, uncertainty. The next night, I came home late. No explanation. No apology. She was already waiting in the kitchen, leaning against the counter. "Where were you?" I shrugged. "Out." "With who?" "Just some people." Her eyes searched my face like a map that suddenly didn't make sense. No anger. No defensiveness. Just nothing. She didn't know where I'd been. That bothered her. But I wasn't hiding anything. I wasn't cheating. I wasn't meeting anyone. I was just existing outside her orbit, and that alone was enough to unnerve her. She used to believe she had time. Power. A leash she never had to pull too tight. But now I'd cut the leash, and she was standing in an empty field wondering where I'd gone. Sunday morning, she tried to reclaim normal. Woke up early. Made pancakes. Wore the shirt I once said I loved. I walked into the kitchen, nodded once, poured myself coffee, and left my plate untouched. "You're not hungry?" she asked. No. She stood there for a beat, spatula in hand, like she was waiting for a different version of me to show up. The one who thanked her, kissed her cheek, took pictures of our breakfasts. But I'd stopped playing that character, and she was starting to feel the hollow space where my warmth used to live. Later that night, she lingered near me on the couch. Closer this time. I could feel her eyes searching my profile, waiting for a reaction. I kept scrolling through my phone. She tried again. "Do you want to go for a walk or something?" It was desperation disguised as casual suggestion. I didn't even look up. Not really. That was the second flicker, doubt. Because for the first time in our marriage, she wasn't sure if I'd come back. I started waking up before sunrise. Not because I had to, because I wanted to. There was peace in being out the door before she even stirred. Peace in not having to say good morning. Peace in the silence she once asked for. At first, she didn't notice. But after 3 days of empty coffee mugs and a cold spot on my side of the bed, she blinked at me over breakfast and asked, "You're up early lately." I just said, "Yeah." That was it. Let her fill the gaps. I started spending longer hours at the gym. Not because I was chasing revenge, because I was remembering who I used to be. The version of me that wasn't exhausted. The one that didn't measure self-worth by how many needs I could meet in a week. I changed my routines. New barbershop. New bank. New route to work. Tiny shifts, barely visible, but they mattered. Because every piece I reclaimed was one less she could reach. One evening, I came home later than usual. She was pacing, trying not to look like she was. "You didn't answer my text," she said. "I was busy," I replied, taking off my jacket. She stared. "You're always busy now." I shrugged. "Guess I am." The thing about detachment is, it's not loud. It doesn't slam doors or break plates. It's quiet. Still. Unreadable. And that's what scared her. A few days later, I noticed she'd started dressing differently. Makeup. Hair done. Casual but intentional. Like she was trying to remind me of who she used to be. She left her phone face up now. Too obvious. Too late. One night, I found her in the living room with a bottle of wine and 2 glasses. She lit candles. Played that playlist we made years ago. I thought we could just, sit. Talk. I stared at the setup, then at her. She smiled like she was offering me a second chance at something. I stood still for a moment, then simply said, "I'm heading to bed." Her expression didn't break immediately. It cracked slow, like ice under pressure. She whispered something, but I was already halfway down the hall. And that was the moment she realized. I wasn't trying to fix this. I was rebuilding something, just not with her in it. A week later, the tension in the house became something you could taste. She moved quieter now, measured, like she was trying not to startle something. And in a way, she was. Because I wasn't reacting anymore. Not to her efforts. Not to her attitude. Not even to her absence. I became unshakable. That scared her. She started checking in more. "How was work? Did you eat? You want to watch something tonight?" But she said it like someone rehearsing lines. Like a person knocking on a door they once walked through freely, but now needed permission. I gave her short answers. Polite. Neutral. Let her sit in the very emptiness she created. One night, I caught her standing at the hallway mirror, staring at her reflection longer than usual. Not adjusting anything. Just searching. That same night, I saw her pick up her phone, start typing, stop, delete, then put it down. She was unraveling quietly. and I was watching every thread come loose. Then it happened. A message pinged her phone. She was in the shower. The screen lit up. Just a name. Just a preview. Same time tomorrow? I didn't react. I let the words settle. Didn't pick up the phone. Didn't open it. Didn't need to. She had been careful, sure. But people always slip when they panic. Later that night, I asked something I hadn't in weeks. Still working late this week? She froze for half a second, then nodded too quickly. Yeah, we've got deadlines. It's a mess. I just said, got it. No follow-up. No suspicion. But that's when it clicked. This wasn't just distance anymore. This was a cover story. And I realized she was worried I was seeing someone, when in truth, she was the one hiding. The irony burned cold, because while she was trying to rebuild what she thought she had lost, I had already begun investigating what she thought she'd hidden, not out of revenge, not out of anger, but because she mistook stillness for stupidity. And now, the man she thought she understood, wasn't just slipping away. He was tracking every move in silence. I took the next morning off work. She thought I was at the office. I watched her pull out of the driveway, same calm, same smile, same fake kiss on her way out. Then I opened my laptop. I already had what I needed, the preview of a message, her shift in behavior, her fake late nights. But I didn't want guesses. I wanted facts. I checked our phone records. Not the messages, those she deleted. The call logs. One number stood out. Late at night. Always after 10 p.m. Same 3 digits. Same silence when I walked into the room. I copied it, punched it into a lookup service. And there he was. Jason Keller. Mid-level sales director. Not her boss. Not her peer. Just conveniently present. I remembered him. He was the guy who laughed too hard at her jokes during that work party. The guy she swore was like a brother. Right. His social media was open. Too open. Gym selfies. Conference badges. 2 kids. A wife. Clean cut. Predictable. Boring. Exactly her type. And suddenly, I could see the whole thing. The after-hours meetings. The stress that made her cold with me but warm with her phone. The way she pulled back from touch but leaned into validation. I didn't rage. I didn't even flinch. I bookmarked everything. And then I placed the first seed. I went into our shared cloud folder, the one we used for receipts, contracts, schedules. And I created a new file. Untitled. Empty. But shared to her. It had no content. But it had a message. I see you. The next day, I waited. Watched her move through the house like she was sitting on a secret. She didn't mention the file. But I noticed her checking her phone more. Texting in shorter bursts. Less giggling. More glancing. She felt the ground shift. She just didn't know how far it would crack yet. And that weekend, when she told me she had a creative retreat with her team 2 towns over, I smiled. Sounds great. Hope it helps, I said. She blinked. I think she expected pushback. Suspicion. A passive-aggressive sigh. She got none of that. What she didn't know was that I already had the address. I'd already tracked the hotel booking. And I had someone waiting there with a camera. Because this wasn't a confrontation. This was the construction of consequence. She thought she was outsmarting a man who didn't fight back. But I wasn't fighting. I was preparing the funeral for her illusion of control. She left for the weekend retreat on Friday afternoon. Duffel bag in one hand, yoga mat in the other. Kissed me on the cheek like it meant something. I'll call you when I get there, she said, smiling too hard. I nodded. Enjoy. She pulled out of the driveway without looking back. 20 minutes later, my phone buzzed. Not from her. From the investigator I hired. Single photo. 1 frame. Her walking into the hotel lobby with Jason Keller, the man who was supposed to be just a friend. His hand on her lower back. Her laugh, the one I hadn't heard in months, pointed right at him. I didn't feel betrayed. That feeling had expired weeks ago. What I felt was clarity. They checked in under separate names. Classic move. Different floors. Different elevators. Different lies. But the footage didn't lie. I watched each frame like a director watching final edits. Scene after scene of rehearsed sin. They weren't just careless. They were predictable. Back home, I didn't touch her closet. Didn't start packing. I sat in the quiet and began organizing the presentation. Not just for her. For everyone who mattered. I gathered screenshots, timestamped photos, call logs, booking confirmations. Built a clean digital folder. Then backed it up in 3 locations. I included the fake calendar entries. The synced hotel receipts. Even the emails from her wellness retreat coordinator that didn't exist. I wasn't building a fight. I was building a case. When she called later that night, her voice was syrupy. Hey, just got in. Long drive. Wi-Fi spotty, so I might not be able to call tomorrow. Love you. I said, no worries. Take care. That was it. No hint. No clue. I let her keep the lie for one more night. Let her think I was still asleep in the dark. Because sometimes the deepest cuts come not from screaming, but from silence that's already decided. The next morning, I finalized the printouts. Tucked everything into a single black envelope. She'd be home by Sunday evening. I knew she'd walk in with that same exhausted yet peaceful expression. Thinking she had fooled me. Thinking the chapter was closed. But what she didn't know was that her final scene was already written. And all I had to do was place the envelope on the bed. She walked through the door just after 6 p.m. on Sunday. Sunglasses still on. Hair pulled back like she was trying to look effortlessly put together. But I saw it in her hands, the slight tremble of someone hoping nothing had changed. I was in the kitchen, wiping down the counter. Didn't rush to greet her. Didn't even pause. Hey, she called out, voice light. I'm back. Cool, I said. That was it. She hovered in the entryway for a moment, like she expected more. A kiss. A question. Even a fake smile. She got none of it. I watched her out of the corner of my eye. She looked around the house, as if searching for signs of a shift. She didn't see the envelope. Not yet. Retreat was great, she offered. Very relaxing. Detoxing, you know? I gave her a single nod. Glad to hear it. She tried again. We did these meditation workshops. It really opened things up for me. Nice, I said, rinsing a glass. She laughed nervously. You okay? You've been so chill lately. I met her gaze for the first time. I'm good. The silence after that was longer than she liked. She picked up her bag and walked toward the bedroom. That's where she found it. Black envelope. White label. Her name. No decoration. No flourish. Just wait. A minute passed. Then 2. Then her voice echoed down the hall. What's this? I didn't answer. She returned, holding the envelope in both hands like it was hot. Her eyes searched mine. What's in it? I dried my hands. Everything. She hesitated. I don't. You should sit down before you open it, I said, finally turning toward her. Her face paled. She moved to the couch, tore it open, and pulled out the contents. First the photos, then the printouts, then the screenshots. It didn't take long. Her fingers trembled as she flipped through them. Her breathing slowed. She tried to speak, but nothing came. Then finally, barely a whisper. How did you? I cut her off with a raised hand. I'm not here to argue. She blinked. But I can explain. No, you can't. Her lip quivered. It was a mistake. I didn't mean. You meant every text. Every lie. Every late night. She looked down at the pages. Her voice cracked. I thought you didn't know. I did, I said. For weeks. Her shoulders collapsed. She looked like a child who realized there was no way out. And I stood there calm straight, still. Because this wasn't a breakdown. This was the handover of consequence. And in that moment, she finally understood. She hadn't just lost my trust. She had lost access to the version of me who ever cared. The next few days were a case study in unraveling. She tried everything: tears, silence, rage, nostalgia. Nothing landed. I didn't raise my voice. I didn't ask questions. I didn't even move my things. I simply stopped including her in the concept of my life. She hovered in doorways, left notes, cooked breakfast. I tossed the eggs, deleted the texts, left the notes unopened. I wasn't being cruel. I was being final. On the third night, she cracked. Came into the living room, eyes red, voice shaking. Are you just going to pretend none of this matters to you? I looked up from my book. No, I'm just not performing grief on your schedule. She stared like she didn't recognize me. You used to fight for this, she whispered. No, I used to fight for a version of you that didn't exist anymore. She opened her mouth, but I was already on my feet. I'm not interested in your explanations. Not your regrets. Not your memory of us. And then I walked past her. Slow, quiet, absolute. That's when she stopped asking questions and started making offers. What if I ended it with him? What if we started fresh? I laughed calmly. You ended us the moment you made space for him. That night, I lay in bed, wide awake, listening to her crying in the hallway. I didn't go to her. Because the man who once would have no longer existed. She had tried to control the ending. Tried to delay it. Dress it up, make it softer. But silence is never soft. It cuts deeper than screaming ever could. And I let her bleed in the quiet. One morning, I came downstairs to find her sitting at the table with a mug in her hand she wasn't drinking from. "I made a mistake," she said, without looking up. "I know. I didn't think you'd actually stop loving me." I tilted my head. "I didn't. I outgrew needing to." She didn't respond. There it was, her full collapse. The realization that I wasn't punishing her. I had just moved on. 2 more days. That's all I gave her. And then I began packing. Not loudly. Not dramatically. Just efficiently. Essentials only. Quiet touches. Things that mattered to me, not to us. She came home early that evening and saw the half-empty closet. Her face went blank. "Where are you going?" she asked. "Somewhere I can breathe." Tears welled. "I don't want you to go." I zipped up the last bag. "You should have thought of that before you let someone else take up my space." And this time, she didn't follow me to the door. Because even she knew. There was nothing left to say. I didn't leave in the middle of the night. Didn't slam the door. Didn't leave a note. I left at 10:12 a.m. on a Tuesday. While she was at work. While the sun was out. While the house was quiet. One last look around. Not for nostalgia. Just to confirm. Nothing here was mine anymore. No photos on the fridge. No warmth in the walls. No reason to stay. My keys, I left on the table. Her name on the lease? That would change soon enough. The bank accounts? Already separated. The passwords? Changed. She texted me at 3:46 p.m. "Where are you?" I didn't answer. Then at 4:02. "Are you okay?" I was. At 4:19, she tried again. "Can we talk? Please. Just talk." I blocked the number. That night, I checked into a rental across town. No framed memories. No traces of her. Just clean, uncluttered silence. And for the first time in years, I felt something she never understood how to give me. Peace. She tried email next. Then mutual friends. Then voicemail. Each message got more frantic. But she wasn't reaching out for me. She was reaching for control. The illusion of access. Of ownership. And that had been revoked. I never sent the photos to her parents. Never contacted Jason's wife. Didn't need to burn them down. They were already ashes. A week later, a mutual friend mentioned she'd been asking about me. Said I'd just disappeared. Said she was shattered. I smiled quietly. Because vanishing wasn't the revenge. It was the release. She thought I'd wait. Thought I'd argue. Thought I'd want closure. But I'd close the door the moment she made room for someone else in my absence. And she'll never open it again. 3 weeks later, I ran into her at a grocery store. Hair in a messy bun. Sunglasses on. Alone. She froze when she saw me. "You look," she started, unsure. "Free." I offered. She blinked. "Yeah, that." I nodded. Then walked past her. Didn't turn around. Didn't linger. Didn't look back. Because the truth is she didn't lose me. She lost the right to ever be near the version of me that would have stayed. And I didn't just leave her behind. I erased the path back. What would you have done in my place? If the story hit you, leave a like. And don't forget to subscribe. It only gets stronger from here.